So, Charlie, let's go back to the basics. What is meditation?
Meditation is using your thoughts to create an experience. And so it's like you create the thoughts you want to create a feeling inside. Most people feel the aim of meditation is peace, to be peaceful. That's the result. The aim of meditation is to know and experience who I am. And when I use thoughts to feel the reality of the self, automatically an incredible, it's just like a whole fragrance of peace just fills the inner being in an incredible way. So meditation is really, rather than being a victim of my own thinking, I see something, I think, I hear news, think, I'm just reacting to life. I'm sitting down and I'm starting to create the thoughts I want. And because of those, I create the experience I want. So I'm taking back the mastery of my inner world, the mastery of my mind.
Wow, sounds really good. Now, people usually have told me that meditation is for older audiences. So can anybody at any age meditate?
I started when I was 20.
Yes, that's simple.
Absolutely. And even we do children's classes for meditation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do. And I think it doesn't really matter the age. It's more the understanding and perhaps the patience to learn, because most of us have a monkey mind to a certain extent. And a lot of people, I find these days, people yearn to meditate. There's such, I yearn for that inner peace. But when they start to practice and the mind goes all over the place, except where they want it to go, they give up quickly.
Yeah.
And that's why I often say, if you just persevere a little bit, you'll start to experience this pristine place of peace internally. You'll find this sacred place internally. And once you taste that, even for a few seconds, few minutes, you start to revisit that place. It's probably the most valuable skill you can learn in life, to sit down, use your thoughts to connect with yourself and cool your whole inner world down and get a perspective on your problems and your situation and your life. It's such a necessary skill in life today.
So it's not controlling my mind and my thoughts per se, it's to channeling my thoughts to take it into that direction that I want it to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. And what do you think are the benefits of meditation? And for those people listening, of course, controlling the thoughts is one benefit, but what other benefits can they find if they try it?
There's numerous benefits. There's so much data about improved physical health. But I would say the main benefit is an improvement in your relationship with yourself. And fundamentally, your whole life is built on that. And if your relationship with yourself is unhealthy, it affects each millisecond of your life.
Yes.
And what meditation does, it teaches you who you are.
Yes.
You start to experience who you are, and you start to begin to respect and love who you are. So there's this slow, and it's not overnight, healing of how I feel about myself. To me, if I don't respect myself, will I respect other people? Will I respect the environment? Will I respect the laws of society? I don't think so. Look at the world. It's just out of control, because where does it begin? If I lack respect and love for the self, I won't be able to respect and love anyone else too. And that's our world. So meditation goes to the core of healing this first relationship in life. And honestly, my experience is a massive transformation in that area where it's this inner education of working with this relationship so you feel comfortable about the person you are internally.
That's so beautiful.
To me, that's success in life. To me, success isn't the big title, the big job, the big house, the big car. Success is I can say from my heart, I like being who I am, not from ego, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. Because quite frankly, very few people are.
Yes.
We're all actors on the surface. We
yeah.
act, but inside we're all battling with our own self-doubt, our own fears, our own worries, our own anxieties. And yeah, meditation helps heal that.
Yeah, no, definitely. No matter how confident, Charlie, I may appear, there is a lot of, as you mentioned, self-doubt within myself as well. And I can talk about it now because I am comfortable enough to talk about it. Because a year ago, if you'd asked me, I'd be like, no, 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 I'm all good. But there is a lot of doubt in there. And I think, the journey has just begun and there's a lot more that needs to come.
The amazing thing, Shikar, is that everyone's like that. Because often we feel, gosh, I have so much self-doubt. I look at other people and they look all confident, but
Yes.
they're playing the game too. What I've realized is a difference between self-confidence and self-respect. I can be confident to pass an exam, run a company, make a lot of money. It doesn't mean I like who I am. And often that huge gap is there. On the surface, there's everything. And once I gave a meditation course to a billionaire,
Oh, okay.
and you know what he said? I'm a complete success out there and a total failure in here.
Oh,
And I said, why? He said, I'm not happy. Then he went on to say, everyone thinks I've made it. I'm it. He said, I haven't at all. I'm not a happy human being. Surely the mark of life is to feel happiness. That's
yes.
the Greek philosophers we talk about, fundamentally they said that the whole aim and purpose of life, Aristotle, Socrates, is to be happy. Wisdom, the wisdom is to be happy. And I absolutely believe if you can keep yourself happy in this world, in all the situations of life, that is the ultimate state of spiritual wisdom.
I think meditation, and I think I've read it somewhere, it's like an archer pulling on the bow. So similarly, meditation is pulling inwards before you shoot the target. You have to pull inwards. So it's drawing your inner strength, which is like peace and stability, etc., inside before it releases to wherever it needs to be.
Shikha, why do we meditate in the morning?
Yes.
Because if you sit quietly in the morning and you fill your inner space with peace and well-being, self-respect, love, that's the seed of all your actions and behaviors throughout the day. So you create this awareness, and as you're busy, as you're meeting people, your thoughts and feelings and reactions and emotions are coming from this elevated place. So that's where, thoughts are the seeds of actions. You create these elevated thoughts, and then your actions are coloured by those. So you do an action in the corporate world, but you're respectful, you're loving, you're kind. That definitely creates a successful life. If you do the action and you're rude, you're abrupt, you're this, you're that, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You might have all the skills, you might be the cleverest person around, but people won't accept that sort of behaviour. And the more you work on yourself, actually it's a recipe to have a fulfilling life and you will be successful. So much of life is about relationship. So much. Leadership is relationship.
Oh,
It's all
totally.
about relationship. That's what it is.
Yeah, totally. Definitely is. They said, and I read this again, that if you join the 5 a.m. club of meditation, by the time 9 a.m. comes to do your normal job, you're going to hit goals.
It's a new one for me.
Okay. So, Charlie, back to you. You've been practicing meditation for over 40 years. Wow, firstly, can I say, 22, you started meditating. Do you think you still need to meditate? Because over so many years, surely you've got it all and learned it all.
No.
No?
No, it's an amazing journey of self-learning. But I would say that, when I started the normal human nature, up and down, up and down, I think we all fluctuate depending on external situations and my responses. But I found the more I know who I am, this fluctuation stopped. I feel quite stable, in positive scenes, in negative scenes, in scenes of respect and scenes of disrespect. So it's like in a sense, this whole journey is empowering the inner self, stabilizing your self-respect, knowing who you are, even knowing your weaknesses too. You're honest with yourself. You know who you are. So you're not sort of overreacting to things around. And quite frankly, recently in the last few years, I've just found life is easy. It's easy. The battle is, it's just much easier. And I would say the relationship with God, I often feel I don't see myself as religious. It's just a natural lover of the soul, like a friend that is a true friend, a true lover. And it's like that's the influence on my mind. It's not people, opinions, situations, the economy, the state of the world driving my emotions and my feelings. No, it's another force. So, and that's stable. So no matter what's happening outside, I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but I've 95% it's changed. Just feel quite easy. Don't overreact to, don't get shocked, don't get disturbed, don't get upset. And in a way, we've been talking about leadership. To me, when a leader just remains unruffled and stable, people get strength from watching, not overreacting. It's all about who you are, just, and as you know yourself, you lead yourself, then automatically it sort of gives some, courage and stability to other people too, to be similar.
If I could be transparent, I'm one of those people that reacts fast to things, and I'm learning to become detached. But there's as I said, step one is to take that first step, which I've taken. How long do you think I have before I get there, before I become this unruffled leader, so to speak?
You know what the main thing is? The story of the hare and the tortoise?
Yeah.
That's the story of the spiritual journey. Because some are hares, they want everything quickly. They run, meditate, do everything for a few months and then sort of stop. Go back to square one once again. The tortoise is the one who does that little bit every day, no matter what. Every day, wake up, sit quietly, go internally, connect with self, just really open that incredible reservoir of inner peace and just bathe yourself in those feelings. Observe yourself, what I need to change, what I need to learn, be honest with myself and step into life. And if every day, definitely you will get there. But all of us are fluctuating. All of us are totally reactive to life. That's because that's the culture we've all been brought up in. And it takes time and patience. Once one of the heads of the Brahma Kumaris, Daddy Janki, she was the head. And she'd been practicing for 80 plus years. And she said, you need three things on the spiritual journey. The first is patience. The second is patience. And the third one, guess what?
Patience.
You need a lot of patience with yourself.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, some things change overnight.
Yeah.
Some things change with a bit of effort over months and years. Some things are so deep, so deep. And this is really what's important to keep that courage, consistency of practice. For me, I think in nearly 50 years, every day I've done my practice. I don't think I've missed a day.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah. And, as I said at the beginning, it was like this, and then it gets like this, and then it gets like this, and then... Yeah. Investing in self is the best investment in life, really giving time to know yourself, connect with yourself, heal yourself. It's essential in this world today.
Amazing. Well, patience. That's something I also need to learn. Patience.
But we all do. That's the thing. We're all on the journey.
Yes. With the analogy of phones and charging the phones overnight, and drawing that same analogy, how do you believe that we can charge ourselves through this meditation? Is it just to wake up early, go internally that you mentioned, or is there something more depth to this?
There's really meditation is two major steps. And really the early morning is the best time because the vibrations in the world are calmer.
Yeah.
And if you just wake up and before you let your mind wander to yesterday and all the issues and what happened and how you felt, or the anxiety of today and what you have to deal with,
Yeah.
just sit quietly and begin to visualize the self. And it's almost this amazing process of withdrawing, stepping back, letting go, the whole image of my body. You know, that's not who I am. I'm not a set of labels. I'm actually something much deeper. And that takes practice. But when you sit on the center of the forehead as a peaceful soul, it's an incredibly sweet feeling of like coming home to a place where you feel so comfortable. But where the real power comes from in the connection with the Supreme Soul. And what I do when I become detached from all my labels, my gender, my nationality, all that, and I just sit as a soul. And through the third eye, you see, you touch, you connect. It's real. It's not just sitting imagining something. I'm actually connecting with a real living being that's an unlimited source of peace and power. And it's almost like you live stream the energy of the divine into your inner space. You live stream. And sometimes I just find that whole inner world just becomes so still. It's incredible. It's like you feel I'm full. I have what I need. I don't need anything outside myself. I don't need praise. I don't need respect. I often feel the reason we run after all that stuff is because the fundamentals aren't there. So we just keep investing in all this temporary hits of stuff to make me feel better about myself.
Yes.
But just feeling the love of the divine, there's no sweeter experience in human life, I would say, than that.
Beautiful.
And love, you know what love does? Love just, you know, you just feel completely content. You have what you need to be totally loved. You don't need anything else. And therefore you remain quite satisfied in life. And when you remain dissatisfied, that's where you're constantly driven, you know, the better car, the better house, the better title on my business card, and you're still not satisfied, no matter, it never will satisfy you. But we've all experienced that culture. And that's why spirituality says, don't leave all that stuff. You need a job, you have the family, but reorientate your inner world so that you remain content. So if things go well at work, great. If they don't, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If the economy crashes a bit and my bank account is hit a bit, I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's not the foundation of my well-being in life. I don't become highly anxious and fearful.
Yeah.
Because I've got treasures internally, the real treasures of life, to be happy, to be loving, to be peaceful, etc.
Yeah, it's very good, very important. Yoga. In Brahma Kumaris, you know, the terminology that's coined quite often is Raj Yoga. So what is that?
Raj means the king. And in a way, for those who have a history, Patanjali wrote the 8 limbs of yoga, which is really, you know, it just starts with Hatha yoga, where you have a physical discipline, pranayama, a breathing discipline. The whole idea is to work up to Raja Yoga, where you ultimately discipline or master the mind. And really that's the true yoga. And yoga means union or connection.
With the king being the divine.
Being the divine. But in a way, whatever you have yoga or are connected to, that's your state of consciousness.
Yeah.
So when your mind is always thinking about people and situations, that's when you just fluctuate. Whatever is your connection. If your mind's always living in the past, and many people just dwell on the past and the pain of the past and increase the pain. And what Raja Yoga really says is that's all real. We all have a past. There are situations. But when I learn how to connect or have yoga with a being that's absolutely stable, absolutely peaceful, the more I'm connected there, the less the past, the personalities, the situations control how I feel. I'm taking back the mastery of my life by connecting there. Of course, it takes time. Of course, it takes practice, but it works. My experience is absolutely works.
So good. And what is intuition? And how does that play a role in personal growth? We hear the terminology, listen to the inner voice, listen to your intuition. What's that? Is there such a thing? Is this our mind telling us that we've got another voice, or is it really something there?
What it really is that I am a soul, and the soul carries a whole record of its past. The extraordinary truth of life is that you sitting there, me here, recorded in your subconscious is entire recording of your past, not just this life, but past lives too. As the soul forgets itself and becomes more and more bodily conscious, more and more ego-driven, I create negative habits and my intellect is confused and disturbed. But still sitting in my subconscious is a wisdom, a deep truth. It still sits there. And that's why sometimes your intuition taps in to this reservoir of wisdom sitting inside. Sometimes you connect, you just know what I should do. You understand a situation. But sometimes then emotion just bulldozes that wisdom or intuition too, or fear. Fear, your intuition says, no, don't react, don't do this, but fear or emotion will just blast or just explode. And so sometimes we don't listen. But the more I, in a sense, let go body consciousness, all the labels, connect with myself as a soul, then the intuition, you start to reconnect more with that. We all have a reservoir of wisdom. You're a mother. I'm sure you've been astounded what your children have sometimes said at such a young age. Sometimes such insights and wisdom just comes out because it's recorded in the subconscious in that way.
So when I started this podcast an hour ago, I said, hello, wonderful souls. I also spoke to you, and you've alluded to just a minute ago as well, about the terminology soul. Now, what is soul? Where is it situated? And how do we believe it exists?
Well, there's different names. Some call it a soul, some the spirit. In the East, the Atma. The Atma means three things. I, the living, the dweller in the costume.
Okay.
And in psychology, sometimes they call it the psyche. But it's the consciousness, the soul. And the extraordinary thing is we can't see a soul. We can't measure a soul because a soul is non-physical consciousness. Are your thoughts, can you say my thought was 4 inches long and red and had a black spot at one end? They are non-physical things, but we feel them, And this is where, when we become so physically orientated, it's hard to describe it. The soul sits in the front of the brain around the pituitary gland. And the consciousness, even when they do brain scans, all the light comes from that point.
Right. Wow.
And so just when you sort of think, I'm a soul, this point, I'm immortal and eternal, I always exist. And just think I sit on the throne here and I start to forget who I am and I start to think I'm a temporary body. The result? Absolute terror of death, of leaving this body, which is the most natural thing of human life. We are all going to die, the most inevitable thing in life. And yet the more the soul attaches to this identity, to the identities of my family, to things in life and roles, I just build fear into my life. The law says the more I become dependent, I fear losing that I'm dependent on. So fear and attachment go hand in hand together. And because we become so attached, and this is why anxiety, if you ask any psychologist today, it's exponential, going through the roof. Because we have so much fear of things happening in this world, we hold on even stronger. And it becomes a terror. And I mean, it's really sad because anxiety, you can't sleep well, you can't enjoy life. And yet, when I begin to know who I am and I can change, I can actually let go. It does take practice. when I sort of know who I am, know why I'm here, know who to connect with, I have tools to actually start to change my.
Can we access the record that we hold in this little soul?
Well, it's like programming. So what happens is a scene of life comes in front of you,
Yeah.
and you instantly, beyond time, go back to your database as to how to respond. And that's why, you know, you may see a scene of life and your husband and two sons may see it. All of you will react completely differently
Yeah.
because you all go back to your databases as to how to respond. For instance, if as a child you were bitten by a dog,
Yeah.
so, and you're with your husband and two boys, so as soon as you see the dog, you sort of call back, but your two boys haven't had that experience. They just run and cuddle the
Play
dog,
with the dog.
however big it is. Because your past is like a shadow over your present. We're like puppets dancing to the tune of our habits, of our past. And this is the meditation journey to clear the influence of those habitual mental, emotional patterns that, you know, you sort of want to be happy, but your own nature makes you always worried or fearful. So we're dancing to the tune of our past habitual programming that we have created. And the seed of that is forgetting who I am once again. When I'm not soul conscious, living in the awareness that I'm a soul, and I become bodily conscious, the children of that is fear, is anxiety, is anger, is ego, is dependence, is all these negative emotions which really take the beauty out of life.
It's amazing, you know, because the soul is synonymous with the word spirit, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And soul to me was a form of music, and spirit, my goodness, Charlie, if somebody said spirit in my life and my family 5 years ago, we would think ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, here we are, you know, talking about something that's so profound that we all are spiritual beings, and lots of people still don't know about it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we're just
right.
so caught up in our own lives and our drama of life that we just don't know. It's amazing. Yeah, so the human body is made up of billions of cells, yet each soul, and you've also said it, is tinier than one cell. Can you elaborate why it's so tiny if it holds so much?
Yeah. When I started my meditation practice, I had a job at Imperial College in London in the physics department.
Oh, okay.
And I just worked there 4 hours a day, and they were trying to find the quark at that time.
Okay.
And in that time, it was sort of the smallest particle,
What's it called? The quark.
quark.
Okay.
But I think they've found even smaller particles since then. But
So this is smaller than an atom and subparticles.
absolutely,
Okay, the
yeah,
quark. Okay.
it was the smallest unit of matter. And just because I was on my journey learning about the soul, that the soul always exists, just think, I always exist. So I asked the scientists, what do you feel about these essential building blocks of matter? They said, we believe they're eternal.
Ah,
They believe. So it's like the soul is eternal, matter is eternal. And this is why, for instance, when I've been in, Nepal, for instance, even in Bali, that when sometimes in some cultures, when the body dies, they put part of it in a stream for the fish, part of it in the ground for the worms, and part of it on the top of the ground for the birds and things, because it's a material thing and it goes back into matter. All those little building blocks, they don't not exist anymore. They just go into other forms of matter. And
fascinating.
so it's really amazing that the self, the consciousness, sits in this body and expresses its beauty through this body. It's a wonderful thing. But when we forget that, that's when we fear losing this body. We fear the most natural thing, that's life. And I really feel that we were talking earlier, in a golden age, when we regain our spiritual power, absolutely zero fear of death. It's the most natural thing, like a snake shedding a skin or whatever. It's a natural part of life. And I really think it's absolutely possible to become so self-conscious you have no fear of death. Now, that's a journey like everything else too. It doesn't completely go, because our habit is to be attached. The less you are attached to the identity of this temporary form.
A lot of people are so afraid of death. It's unbelievable. Just the concept of, oh my God, I'm going to die, it just brings fear. I mean, even for me, I lost my dad last year, and the grief was extraordinary. You've lost somebody who you loved. And I lived overseas for a number of years. So when I came back to Australia, for me, it was like my family was there, and then suddenly a shift happened, and he wasn't, and it was just like, why was I overseas for so many number of years, and all of those things, that grief is so connected to guilt, and you're like just overwhelmed by so many feelings, and it's very difficult for people. So for those that are going through grief right now, and for those that are afraid of death, what would you like to tell them?
Just grief is an amazing sort of emotion. There was an American psychiatrist called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's an extraordinary woman she believed we all carry this well of grief inside of us. And when we lose anything in life, it sort of reconnects into this internal sort of well of grief. Even a friendship, sometimes the sadness and the pain of that can be, it's because we sort of connect into this well of all the losses that we've had. But she believes that the original seed of all grief is at some point we lost true love, pure love, perfect love of God. We've known that love, that sense of absolute belonging, that sense of absolute being cared for, loved completely, and somehow we've lost it. So when we lose a friendship, when we lose a loved one, when we lose a job, when we lose anything, this well of sadness just opens up, which makes so much sense to me, because at the heart of spirituality is really being truly and totally loved by another soul. Now, religions put the word God, and some people find that word challenging. But a soul, a real soul, but a pure soul, a divine soul, a real being. And in meditation, in a sense, what I'm doing is when I become soul-conscious, I allow myself to be completely loved. And observe your inner world when you do that. It's amazing just how you calm, settled, just go into such a deep, almost a state of silence where you're just being, and you feel completely fulfilled and happy, and you have nothing around you, no human being, no company, and you're completely full. And if you can be completely full without, all that external stuff, then you can become completely stable. You love your family, and we engage with life, but if the family's not so good, or work changes, anything changes, it doesn't rock my boat. I'm still able to keep my sense of self regardless of anything happening around me.
Yes. And that's achievable through meditation as well.
100%. Because when we say meditation, it's like inner learning.
Yeah.
Spirituality is this inner education about who I am, how I respond to things, how I change my responses, observing myself.
Yeah.
And stop the blame game, stop projecting on everyone else for my sorrow.
Yeah.
Because I'm deceiving myself when I do that. I'm just under self-deception. Every time it's you, it's this, it's that. I disempower myself. I put all the power to other people. And then, if you change, my life will be better. That's a complete falsehood. But that's how most relationships are today, unfortunately.
Yes.
Change yourself, and then I'll be happier when you're different.
Yes. So if soul is eternal, do you think that the character that played my dad, may run into him again, or her, whatever shape
100%.
the new body takes?
I have a friend here in Sydney who is a psychologist, hypnotherapist, and he actually began regressing people.
Okay.
And he ended up making films which were just hits on television hit all over the world because he went right into this thing. And once, and when you asked that question, there was a little boy that he was filming, and as soon as he could speak, he said, "Mummy, I was your daddy."
Oh,
And the whole family thought that was hysterical.
yeah.
But he was so persistent, so determined. And the mother then began to really worry. She became concerned.
Yeah.
So Peter would regress people, and it happens sometimes that, children, people can die, be born to, and it doesn't happen all the time. Often we're born in completely different, but it is possible. And when we have strong connections, often those connections come back. And this is why, let's say you have a child, you're the mother, and yet the child seems to call the shots in the relationship. The child's the dominant party.
Yeah.
Because maybe in a past life, the child was the parent and you were the child, or the child was the husband and you were the wife. In cultures, because that's the way cultures are these days, where the man is more often makes the decisions in a family. But we fall into the dynamic of a past situation, and hence why, a 3-year-old boy or girl can sometimes call the shots of the family,
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
And it happens.
100% it happens.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed in some relationships you become the dominant party, you sort of make decisions?
Yeah.
And in other relationships you become a bit submissive?
Yeah.
Regardless of the gender or the age, you sort of fall into a pattern.
Yeah.
Because these patterns have been in the past and they overlay on the present.
Sorry to be a little bit upfront. Do you visualize your own death?
I haven't visualized it really. Well, maybe I have, because I like to think I'll be meditating and the soul will just fly.
Off.
Yeah.
That's your ideal way to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. And I think that, have you been to funerals? Some funerals are not sad. They're just, because some people live beautiful lives. They're really loving, caring, giving, and and their funeral is different. People are a bit sad, but when someone lives a good life, but if someone's battled their whole life, it's just been hard work, they've even died young, it's a very sad funeral, in that sort of thing. So I think when you really live according to your truth, then I think you die easily, and your conscience doesn't make you heavy with guilt and shame and all those. They're the things that really make death the most inevitable thing. And in a way, each morning when you wake up and you sit down and you sort of just gently, sweetly withdraw from all the labels and you just become a soul. Not a male, not an Australian, not this, not that, I'm just a soul. It's like in a way you're practicing to detach from your body, so when the time comes for you to fly off from the body, you've done the work.
Peacefully go.
Yeah.
It's also very profound. Like you hear stories where people who do believe in the deities, suddenly they are praying to their deity that they believe in. They're praying, and 1 minute they're praying, and the next minute they're gone.
That's right.
And, these are public, gurus and stuff that you hear on the news about. So it's just, it's beautiful. There's books and books written about regrets before you die. Any regrets that you have, or anything that you would like to do before the time comes? Is there anything more to achieve?
Definitely. But they're sort of inner achievements, to really, I would love to, I'm always moving on this journey, but deal with all my inner weaknesses, so to speak, and have respect for every human being, whoever they are, no matter what they are. I think, just recently we had this discussion that when you give respect to everyone, actually your self-respect improves. And when your self-respect improves, you can respect everyone. I mean, I think when you face death, people start to regret, oh, I said this to them, I did this to them, I reacted in this way. Unfortunately, rather than remembering, I probably spent 50, 60, 70 years helping this person. We tend to focus on the things I didn't do. And that's where it's really good to think now, if you do visualize what will stand in my way from an easy departure, so to speak. Is there any unfinished business in my head? Sometimes I do think about it, but it's more like correcting your nature now, learning from, maybe things that I can improve on now.
Any legacy you'd like to leave behind, or anything you'd like people to remember, perhaps? No
Not
legacy?
really. No. I think that I just think that, to me, the beauty of life is to have a relationship with God, experience God's love. That's the pinnacle of human existence for me, a real relationship. When you experience God's love, you can have self-respect. And that's a good life in a way. Yeah.
For me, I would think I would want people to say, she was a positive person with a smile on her face, always happy, easy and light. These are the words that I want to achieve. So at the end, when that end does come for this character, I do want people to say, yes, she was easy and light, with a sense of humor. Just on that note, something funny I just remembered, people ask millionaires, what else is there to achieve? And they say, oh, I want to become a billionaire. And if you ask billionaires, what else is there to achieve? They say, I want to be funny.
Yeah.
So, at the end, if you could just become easy and light and funny, you bypassed that millionaire, billionaire face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one of the BKs here in Sydney who's a palliative care physician with people with dying. And I've heard him say on a few occasions that when people are dying, there's two things on their mind. What sort of person was I, and how did I treat other people? And he goes on to say, often in life, we're really sort of so worried about, paying off the house and, making money and doing it. But when it comes to the crunch, that's not important. All the superficial. And you're left, in a sense, with your accounts with yourself.
Yeah.
Did I follow the values in life that I like? And did I treat people well? Because like, in a sense, you're alluding to, if you don't treat people well, may not mean much now, but at a certain time, you feel heavy. And I remember once one woman, I went to her hospital. She had cancer and she was, terminal. And I don't know why, it just came to my mind. I said to her, she was the mother of someone coming to the meditation center. She was lovely. I said, is there anything you regret? And honestly, instantly a little tear just popped as soon as I said that. And she'd had a falling out with a family member. They hadn't spoken for 15 years. Oh. So I said to her, well, we are all unique. We are who we are. But if that was me, I would want to see them before I go.
Yeah.
And she did.
Okay.
And I said to her later, how was it? She said, it wasn't perfect, but it really was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
To clear that sort of, because deep down, I feel a failure that I can't get on with this person. Even if that person's behaved really badly, we feel, and we may be angry, negative, but deep down, if I can't get on with someone, I sort of doubt myself. Why can't I improve or resolve this relationship?
Yeah. Just takes a phone call, right? You just have to,
Yeah.
bypass every emotion and every ego that exists and just pick up that phone and go for it.
Absolutely. And even if that person's not receptive, and sometimes they aren't, but you need, it's really for me to let go my...
Yeah, you've made that effort.
You've made the effort, yep.
Done your part, and the rest is up to them and drama. So coming back to soul, They say a soul is never a victim, slave, or a beggar. What do these concepts actually mean?
Well, we become a slave to our own habits, our own nature. And I would say that, unfortunately, today, because we've lost our power, we're involved in situations we feel a victim of a personality in my family, a boss at work, a situation, a decision of a government. And the saying goes, only victims blame. And so a victim just spends the whole life, I create the sense, and it's so real in my head. I'm a victim of so many things. But actually the soul is the master. If in the reality I'm the master and I can change all those feelings, but it's so strong. And once I was at an event in Oxford in the UK, and it was a really amazing event of sort of leaders, I suppose. And there was one man there who was the president of the College of Sciences of Africa, Thomas, beautiful man, incredible man. And we were having quite a deep discussion about being victims, how we just position ourselves. And he also had a few tears, and he said, I've had such a profound realization that in Africa, we were victims of colonization. But we just hold on to that perception of ourselves. And every time we meet and try to improve things, we just say, oh, we're victims. So we remain stuck in the place. And he realized that, we can be attached to the identity of being a victim. That's what, people feel so victimized in life today. But it's a sign of when I've lost my spiritual power, I've given it to everyone and everything else. And so I feel a victim of their attitudes, their decisions and their behaviors. But actually, when I regain, even if people have their opinions about me, think I should do this, I live in my self-respect. I don't feel a victim. Like we've been saying this whole discussion, it takes time. It's not that this happens overnight, but if we just start the journey, begin to practice step by step, a few steps make 100, and then a few, you just feel, suddenly you feel yourself not feeling such a victim, feeling so peaceless, feeling so anxious.
Yes.
So you're taking steps to improve the quality of your life. And in turn, that improves the quality of your family's life too.
So stop complaining, stop asking people for things. So that's the begging part. Slave is
And
slave to
blaming.
and blaming.
Yeah.
And that's the victim and the beggar part.
Like so I've heard a few times where they say that when you say you,
Yeah.
you've got
Fingers pointing back at you.
your fingers pointing back at you.
Yeah.
Now, we're responsible for our lives, and a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah.
Needs honesty and courage, but actually that's the most empowering thing you can,
Yeah.
because then you take your power back.
Yeah.
I can do things in my life to improve, but if I keep blaming, I feel a victim of absolutely everything, which is the culture of our world at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, and also, conditioning. I'm the same, I'm learning, but of course, blame and complaining, and these are emotions that we've learned from a very young age in this lifetime. So it takes time to condition that mind. And as you said, one step makes 100 and so on. So we're going to get there. In terms of scriptures, because the concept of being a soul is in many scriptures also. Have you read the Bhagavad Gita, and have you read that particular part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it, if that's been written thousands and thousands of years ago, why are more people not aware of the fact that we're souls? I wasn't, because I haven't read it. But, this is like an old scripture. I'm sure I don't know, but I believe there are other scriptures in other religions that also talk about us being souls.
All the scriptures
All the scriptures.
allude to the soul, the spirit, etc. Because the nature of the soul is like a little battery. And the more the soul is on this journey of birth and rebirth, and it identifies with its body, I lose power. And losing power, I lose the awareness of who I am. And when I lose the awareness of who I am, I may have incredible intellectual power, but I have no spiritual power to face problems and deal with things, etc. And that's what really, so people have forgotten, as I was saying right at the beginning, 80% of people believe they're a soul, but virtually no one experiences the reality, because when I do, I won't be afraid of death and so on.
You also alluded to the fact that meditation gives us some powers. What are those powers? And also, talked about us being souls and souls getting power as well. So what are these powers that we talk about?
Spiritual power is to be kind, to be gentle, not to overreact, to be able to face situations. There's so many. When I get that spiritual power, it enables me to tolerate so many things. That's power, actually.
Yeah.
Often in the world, we have the idea power is force, control, domination. But true power is humility, purity, giving, letting go my ideas and these sorts of things.
Yeah,